Hey guys, it's Krystal Lee Moore Lucier here, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Krystal Lee Moore. This is Realtor Life, and guys, I'm very excited about our chat today. Welcome to our guest, James Coolidge. Hello, James.
Hello there, Crystal. How are you today?
I am doing fantastically. How are you?
Fantastically as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, James just embarked on a very exciting new venture. We were just chatting on it about it offline, and the name of it is ObPortum. And I will say I got it right. Did I get it
You
right?
got it right. You
So
got it right.
it's a Latin word, guys. So a Latin word that I just crushed. I know I'll take autographs later.
Yeah.
Um, but okay, let's just back up a little bit. So, what
Mhm.
is Opportune, and what what made you choose the name, but also what made you decide to open in like go into this new chapter?
Wow. So how much time do you have? I mean, that's an amazing question.
You can have a part two. It's fine.
So I love it. So here, let me start with where it began and how the word emerged.
Yeah.
So where it began was actually going back to 2020 and seeing our little pandemic response and how leaders responded in that place, place where there was a lot of ambiguity, a lot of confusion, a lot of stress. So people and leaders were at all-time stress because everything kept changing all the time. During that time, our organization was able to do some major shifts and accommodate a lot of needs and continue serving the community the way we had anticipated. However, I noticed other agencies were closing doors and staying closed. They weren't sure how to reopen and operate in that space. A year later, seeing a number of businesses that were closed, a number of nonprofits that were closed, I began to question what was it that allowed us to sort of shift and
Yeah.
continue operational and actually grow during that time. And seeing other leaders that grew, their corporations, both for profit and nonprofit,
Yeah.
and then others that actually slid behind and or completely disappeared on
Yeah.
the other side of the response. And I got curious of what that was. So I actually back to school and wanted to figure out, how do leaders grow? How do you grow executive function? How do you grow and develop some of those skills and that strategic sort of planning when the environment no longer aligns itself with your own personal universe, and you still have to achieve those outcomes or you shut down. So I went Lang School of Business and got my Master of Arts in Leadership from there.
Amazing.
And in that space and during the pandemic space and sort of post-pandemic zone is when I began looking at how do we do that.
Yes.
And I was watching a TV show, and in that show, the speaker mentioned opportune and defined it, at which point I thought that will be the future name of my company. So
Yes.
booked it, registered it, held it. So opportune is a Latin phrase which means uh, preparing the sails, preparing the ship. So it goes back to sort of the great ships, preparing the ships for the gentle breeze that leads it safely into harbor. The
Okay.
challenge is there's not always a gentle breeze.
Yep.
Sometimes the currents go against it, sometimes the winds, the waves, etc.
Yep.
And so the captain of a ship is always looking at the environment externally as
Yeah.
well as internally, their team that they're developing and training to get that ship safely into shore. And the
Ooh,
connection for me just hit. It's like, and that's
yeah.
what leadership is.
Yeah.
Leaders need to be ready to, how do you scan the environment? How do you assess the environment? How do you plan? And again, I assumed everybody did what I did, which was look back to history of previous pandemics and what those responses were and how do you engage. Only to find out that that was called environmental scanning. I didn't know the framework to hang it on. It wasn't until I went back to school that I figured some of the terms to
Yeah.
use. And then how do you get those terms to leaders to empower them in those spaces so that they don't
Yes.
feel or fear failure, but they know what to do when all of a sudden stress and uncertainty and higher risks come around? How do
Yeah.
they shift to the environment and show up still as their authentic self and lead from that core identity of their who in that
Can
space?
I just want to cut like just insert something really quickly in here. Number one, I love that the way you approach this was with questions. And this is the second time today I've wanted to bring this up. I have my handy Ted Lasso mug. And
Nice.
the quote, though, that keeps coming to my mind is that be curious, not judgmental.
Mhm.
So while this
Mhm.
was happening, you could have just been judging leaders that weren't doing it or judging people that were maybe being successful. But instead, you started asking the questions.
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
good for you for getting the master's during this time. I actually got my MBA over the COVID years too, and it is,
Discounted rates during that time. So it was like, hello,
oh,
I'll
I'm
get it
happy
there.
for you. I did not get discounted rate. Um, yeah, we should have chatted
Uh,
before.
yeah.
Sweet. Um,
Always look for
but
the deal. Curious about the deal.
I love that. I love that. But yeah, sorry, keep going. I just wanted to say, like, I'm really impressed, but because approaching it with questions is, I think, a huge piece that everyone can take away from. Because
Yeah.
that's what every innovation, every success, it all starts with the questions and the quality of questions you ask yourself and you ask of others, right? Like it really comes down
Hmm.
to the questions.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, keep going.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
loving
and it's interesting because that's actually ultimately sort of the full circle, what led me around to then going to Canada Coach Academy and getting certified as an executive coach, and then
nice.
continuing on to some additional certifications that I'm realizing I'll always be on the sort of continuous learning,
Yes,
reflective best self certification, and sort
100%.
of different things that I keep staying in that place of curiosity because I realize that is actually what unleashes the individual's potential.
Oh yeah.
And oftentimes, in the point of stress, where leaders can get stuck, is they think that their position is to get it right. I have to have the right answer. I have to have the right solution. I have
Yeah.
to help the team succeed or I fail. So we have this fear of failure that's showing up. And in that space, child parts come into play. So I'm trying to protect myself from failure. I'm getting defensive. I'm
Yes.
putting the weight, I'm blame shifting possibly, or I'm rapidly changing all the time and not leading anything consistent because I'm hoping something sticks. And
Yeah.
so leaders can get in that space of panic as opposed to pausing, breathing, showing up up as themselves,
Yeah.
and bringing that authentic curiosity of, I don't know what I don't know, but if I ask the questions, I can, with my team, with hopefully a diverse team or community or peers, I can begin to exploring what else is possible. What can I do in the space of ambiguity and stress and chaos and change um, and when leaders are in that stress point, and this is where another one of the stats that came out of Harvard University, when leaders are stressed, that whole part of executive function or strategic decision making actually declines.
Yeah.
Stress does, and any change to linear thinking. So, sort of industries and factories that have a regular product line, if something gets broken or missing, how do we fix that? Because we've been doing this for decades and now life has changed.
Yeah.
And that's where asking the questions is helpful and where executive coaching comes in because when leaders can't think of the questions to ask because they're trying to get the right answers,
Yeah.
executive coaching helps them to actually reorient themselves, ground themselves, and show up as their authentic self.
Absolutely. And you are in good company. Like I think a lot of the people listening, as well as myself, we really buy into the concept of coaching.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, if we could all do it alone, it would already be done. Right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's not just about, um, it's not just about having someone to tell you what things to do. It's someone that's outside of the situation, right? Because your perspective, what is the saying? Like, you can't see the forest for the trees. Like,
Mhm.
when you're in it, you need someone who knows what they're doing and, I mean, is kind of tasked with being able to support you to say, okay, so I hear this is your situation. I get it. Here's a picture. Now, this is what I see. Here's like, let's make a path forward,
Mhm.
right? And I
Mhm.
think when you get past, because I know a lot of people at various points of their career, if you haven't done coaching, you think it's an expense. It is
Mhm.
not an expense. It's an investment,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you can, like you said, like if you can steady that ship, then your success will go up. The success of your peers will go up.
Yes. And what leaders have in and of themselves is the solution. So an executive coach isn't coming there to provide the solution. That's a different role. That's more providing executive support or strategic plan or whatever. But executive coaching is really coming and helping that leader explore what is right in front of them and
Yeah.
how they can show up even better in that space. It's interesting some conversations I've had, I call it the $1 million solution, where I've seen leaders actually come into a space where they're feeling confused, not sure how to move forward, feeling stuck. And then all of a sudden, we'll be exploring, and a question will come up, and they will say something, which I then mirror back to them. Did I just hear you say?
Yeah.
And then they're yeah, and literally the solution when we monetize it in one scenario, it went from a couple $100,000 plan to a multi-million dollar solution
Nice.
that successfully landed. And there's a part where I thought I should have charged a commission piece on that, that if we get a
That's
better
phase
landing,
two. Phase two.
right? What was I thinking? And that's where my nonprofit head gets in the way. It's like, how do I help this person be successful? How do I help them
Yes.
show up? And I forget, oh, I got to monetize that too, because I'm in a for-profit apparently now as a
It,
entrepreneur.
yeah,
So
it is so, I will say, so good on you. Like I have a passion for helping and coaching and guiding as well. I will
Mhm,
say I'm not there yet because um the one piece, like I have so many ideas and I can help and I have a passion for it.
mhm,
But where I think it takes a special person and good for you, it's not just telling someone the information and listening to the person, it's getting
mhm,
them to follow through, right? And
mhm,
so I would say like there is a there's a very, very important and special role with coaches and guides where you can actually put things forth in such a way that you do get buy-in
mhm,
from your person, right? Everyone listening, that means if your coach is telling you to do something, go do it. But but like how would you say like what would you be the number one tip you'd say to get someone to follow through? Like when you're
mhm,
coming up with the
mhm,
plan, you're like, okay, we're going to meet again next week, next month, however you do it.
mhm, mhm.
Bring me X.
All right, yeah. So that's where we get into the motivation part. So I
Yeah.
can't bring it. It's like lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. My farmer background, we had cows and horses. So
Yeah.
yeah. So in that space, when leading with leaders, one of the challenges that coaches make is when they actually do provide the solution. Because a coach has their own experiences if they worked it professionally at all or if they led at all, and some do, some don't.
Yeah.
Some literally started right into coaching and have never been in sort of a leadership role. But the challenge when you have been in leadership for a number of years, and I got 32 years of sort of being in the leadership space, and so this is
Yeah.
kind of difficult for me, which I have to
Yeah.
constantly be internalizing and use my metacognition to reflect while I'm saying and giving questions, is that I can be the advice monster and say what I would do in the situation. And that's
Yeah.
not helpful because they don't have my experience. They don't
Right.
have my skills. They don't
Right.
have my motivations. They don't have my knowledge. Like they are on their own journey.
Have their
And
own. Yeah.
so questioning, or else they don't have the motivation or don't have the tools or the knowledge to actually execute on the plan. So that then coaching experience is not helpful. And I think that's when what can happen when there are coaches that aren't necessarily ICF sort of approach coaches and are more
Yes.
advising coaches, um, and more mentoring, I would say, in that space,
Yeah.
and they get frustrated because people aren't following through on their actions, but the people don't have and don't know what you know. And
Yep.
sometimes we assume as leaders, well,
Yeah.
everybody knows this. I've been doing
Yeah.
like this is just natural. Everybody.
Or of course
Well,
you
they
want to
don't.
finish this. We talked about you doing it. Of course you're going to do it. And then is
Yes.
it
And you
done?
knew exactly what this was. They're clueless. And then you're thinking, like, do we not have that conversation? What's going on here? So in that sort of communication piece, if it does get into an area where they want, and ideally want people to have a goal and an action plan by the end of a
Yes.
coaching session, we're looking at the motivation. And one of the best questions I love bringing in that space is, what will you have when? So identifying the goal, what will
Yep.
you have? And so looking at that outcome, and what will that give you in that space? What will that allow you to do?
Yeah.
What will that propel? What new opportunities will emerge once you've done that? How will that empower you in those spaces or ground you better in those spaces once you've accomplished that or have centered yourself in that? So as people begin to think through that, now we're pulling the intrinsic motivation in. And
Yes.
now they're excited to, I want that. And if they're not, if they go, yeah, I don't know, then you know for sure you're just
Get the
giving them a
buy-in.
directive.
Yeah,
We're not coaching anymore because we've lost their motivation in that
for
space.
sure. I will say, even hearing you say all these things, like you're very like you can tell like not only do you know what you're talking about, which is obvious, but you have a
Clueless.
great no, but you have a great like there's a great tone, a great vibe. Like it feels to me like people would very easily sit down and feel comfortable talking with you,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Thank
About
you.
their
Thank
businesses.
you.
Well, you have the experience, but you don't like I think sometimes with coaches, like I mean, you need the right fit, obviously,
Mhm.
but when you're looking at like the big picture, having your experience plus your education, I think it's nice that you're still, even with your experience, I like that you're saying like, but you're gonna get the answer
Mhm.
from your client
You got
because
it.
that's their tailored answer. And I that sounds really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And it's fascinating when they do get it. Because initially they come and they push and they're like, well, what do you think I should do? Exactly. What do you think what do you think I should tell you in that space? Or what would you tell a friend? What would you tell a peer that asked you the same question?
Yeah.
So letting them, so reflecting it back with an open question that
Yeah.
lets them enter into that space. And then how does that feel? Because again, our decision making is also connected to our emotions. We
Yes.
can't actually make a decision without emotion. So I love it when
Yes.
people say, I don't make emotionally based decisions. It's like, well, then you can't make a decision. That's neuroscience. Like you do.
Yeah.
Uh, because you either are in favor towards and
Yeah.
feel towards or feeling against, like in a basic decision of yes and no. Anyway, so when our emotions are locked up and are full and we kind of suppress them because we want to be professional and I
Yeah.
don't want to be vulnerable, and that actually holds us back from actually making some of those more strategic decisions because that authentic self gets pushed down,
Okay.
that vulnerability gets suppressed, and we can get into that either fight, flight, freeze, fawn space, and we fail to show up again in that more strategic leadership role. And so,
Yeah.
again, allowing feelings and thoughts and metaphors and exploring all those things that show up, because that's just how our brain operates. Some are more
Yeah.
in the creative and some are more analytical. I can't bring them where I would go with that, but I'm listening and looking for what they're saying and then calling it out and helping them come into the decision and their
Yeah.
action plan that they want. Yeah.
That's awesome. I know, so a lot of people that listen are also listen to Brian Buffini. So Brian Buffini is a very popular real estate coach and real estate, I guess he founded a very popular real estate coaching program. But what he
Okay.
always says, especially with real estate, is that people buy emotionally and then they justify logically, whether it's
Yes.
for a house or anything else, right? So like your emotion has to be in it and then you're justifying.
Yes. And I'm on to all you realtors. I know how it works. You show that good house in there, and then you show all the really crappy ones because you know you got me hooked on the first one. But anyway,
That's actually what happened with my first house. That's exactly how it's set up. I don't do that.
I know. And I think it just happened to be the way it was, but it's like, okay, how do we even look at anything else? You already know what we want. So
Yeah,
just go and negotiate for us. Get that price down so we can buy it. Yeah.
I think the thing is like with every, I mean, I don't know how it works with all things, but I know with homes, it's always 99% of the time, it's a feeling. So you
Yes.
walk in, you feel like you're home, and then you're
Mhm.
gonna make it happen. Versus
Yeah.
something can have everything you ever wanted on your checklist and it just doesn't feel like home, you're not buying it. But this house
Yes.
here feels like home. It doesn't have the double sink you wanted. It doesn't have, I don't know, the dog run, like whatever it is, what was on like the we must have this, but it
Yes.
feels like home, you're moving in.
Yes. Yeah, those other things you can always add in. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's it. Like with every decision, there's feelings and emotions. And we have our unconscious bias, right? There's
Yeah.
there's those pieces that show up. So helping people again to explore what's getting in your way. What are some of those self-limiting beliefs?
Yes.
And again, what I've seen with leaders, especially ones that haven't done some of that harder work to
Yes.
to sort of heal from some of those child part wounds,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, I'm not going to go to a therapist and deal with my childhood. I'm an adult now. It's like, did you have a lobotomy? Because that brain is still attached to your head
Yeah.
and it's in the subconscious now, but it's finishing thoughts and situations and statements of, oh, I know what they meant to do. I know what they were doing, and therefore I can't. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what do you know to be true? What do you know to be factual about what you know they're thinking? Because I'm not a mind reader, but
Yeah.
maybe you are. That's fascinating. You can read minds. And so it's playing and pushing back a little bit so that they get curious. Because when there's
Yes.
curiosity, there's options. When there's options, there's solutions. And so it's just getting leaders into that space of, again,
For sure.
playful curiosity and
Yeah.
having fun in that space.
I love
Yeah.
that. Now, in your previous careers, or previous career path, did
Mhm.
you get to do a lot of like mentoring and coaching?
In different forms.
Okay.
So my first 12 years would have been serving like as an associate pastor or a youth pastor. So I was hanging out with teenagers,
Yeah.
and my focus was very much more community oriented.
Yeah.
And so with that, a lot of vulnerabilities. And so holding space for people's brokenness
Yeah.
and just letting them have a spot where they can talk through some of their experiences and trust issues, and where they saw themselves and their personal value and worthiness, and trying to help them sort of repackage that and form that so that they saw their intrinsic value and
Yeah.
purpose. Um, so I've had a lot of experience in those spaces. And then I would say in every role, I've always just had this ability to hold space for people,
Nice.
and create curiosity. I have strangers that we get together for networking coffee. And in that process, as we're in the middle of uh, a cafe, they'll be sharing a story. I'll ask questions, and tears will start flowing as they begin to share. And it's that part where our leaders need these spaces of belonging,
Yeah.
which is why the tagline that we're be soon marketing on ObPortum is where leaders belong. I
Yes.
really want to create that space where leaders are seen for who
Yes.
they are, and they also have that self-compassion and validation on what they bring to the table, because there's a spot at the table for their voice and for their presence.
Yes.
But oftentimes leaders perform for what they think is needed as opposed to who they are and what their who brings. So in doing career coaching, I've done a lot of career transition coaching and showing up for people literally when they got terminated, and providing that support as on-site termination support. So HR gives the bad news, and then I get introduced, and it's like, okay, this is a real crap day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. And so helping them process the initial emotions so that they're safe
Yeah.
to go home and work through an initial plan, that you're not alone. I'm here with you to help you find your next career. But the biggest thing that gets in their way is taking the time to understand their who. They think, if I show all my dues, this is all I've done in my job, and look at how impressive I'll be. That
Yeah.
doesn't get them their next spot. But
Right.
when they can understand the unique variation differentiator of their who,
Yep.
they show up so differently. And when they see that value that they bring to the table, they
Yes.
land that next role. And the same with leaders,
Yeah.
starting with the who, and then lead from the strength and groundedness of who you are. Your teams will be more effective because they can show up as their authentic selves. And the
Yes.
outcomes, research shows, is astoundingly more effective in the outcomes when people ground themselves in their authentic self, as opposed to performing and using extra energy to do what they think others expect of them. And so it's just a
Yeah.
fascinating space
I
for
would
people to
say
be.
that is a huge thing for entrepreneurs as well. I remember
Mm,
as a young, just got my real estate license, and the very first kind of training I did, I was with Keller Williams in Ottawa.
mm,
Um, and they had actually a pretty extensive training, like onboarding for us. And I
mhm,
remember they had a whole section on our UVP, our unique value proposition.
mm,
Why, like what makes me special and why should someone work with me as a realtor? And I'll tell you, James, as a brand new realtor, I was like, I don't know. Like, why would
mm,
they? Like, I have no idea. And then so like it was a whole exercise to go like you didn't just fall out of the sky today. Like let's talk about what led you here. So you have no real estate experience, but
mhm,
you have an education, you have sales experience, you have customer service, you have extracurriculars. Like so we kind of like dug into all these things that we were passionate about. Like what do you do for fun? And then it was I found it like one of the hardest things because much like your clients, a lot of us are just like we have the report card, we have the resume, whatever it is, and we forget we're the person underneath that. And that's like it's not, yeah, the experience that gets you in the door, but it's who you
mhm.
are that gets you any further than that.
You got it. You got it. And it is that eclectic combination, which also makes you uniquely you, because it is your who part, that
Yes,
personality, that showing up, those life experiences you've had to date that shaped and formed your ethics, your values, your focus, and
yes,
just how you present yourself. And then there's the experience, and various experiences you've had. Then there's the knowledge that you have and the skills that you have that are unique to you. There's your motivations. There's there's your personality style, there's your EQ, there's
Yeah.
so many different things that show up in that space that make you unique. And that's one of the other reasons why coaching is the one part, but also providing executive support that's more customized to the leaders is another thing that I focus on. Is the research is so astounding with the different styles, the different families, the different approaches, the different frameworks that fit within leaders' context. But oftentimes, the IPs that are out there, and partly I know this because I threw my IP into AI and said, how does this stand out? And it
Yeah.
said, it is unique. It's not been done before. And I thought,
Okay.
huh, that's kind of cool. And yes, for those that are wondering, it's not just ChatGPT. Claude AI also has confirmed it, which is more on the research side. And so it's kind of exciting to see that, okay, because this is the part that I've come to in my conclusion of
Right.
some of the research. And I've continued to research because I just stay curious. So I'm
You
still
are in good
uh,
company. Yes.
yeah. So still connected with Lang School of Business and in the library. So I see all the current research and connected with Dr. Lori Barclay, who's done a lot
Nice.
of it and continues to do ongoing research journals, and is now the editor in chief for organizational behavior. And so it's kind of cool to just always be on that cuspis of changing research because it's always shifting.
Yes.
And I've seen current leadership development IPs that are out there that say, well, research shows. And it's like, actually, that research was proven wrong like over 10 years ago. But because that research hasn't been published in a new book, because
Yeah.
book published research is at minimum 3 years, if not 10 years old research,
Right.
it's not helpful for the leaders trying to make it fit.
Yeah.
And because it all looks the same, you can pull pretty much any leadership book out. It's like, okay, everyone follows one of three leadership approaches and frameworks. And there's well, there's hundreds, literally hundreds of frameworks and approaches in leadership.
Right.
So leaders are taught, if they've not gone to school and aren't accessing this research,
Yeah.
are locked into things and feel at that point again, I must be failing because it doesn't work for me in my context. It's that, again, it's that external work. I'm trying to be what
Yeah.
it wants me to be, but it doesn't align with my authentic who. So maybe I'm not a leader. And my reframe is,
Yeah.
or maybe you've yet to explore and discover what actually fits you and will propel you ahead in the situation you're in the
Yeah.
organization you're in, with the team that you're leading, or the multiple teams that have different needs depending on
Yeah.
the layer that they're working from. So it's just, again, how do we get curious about
Yeah.
what should work for you?
I love that. And what you said there's one of three frameworks that most leaders use. What are
Mm-hmm.
those?
So the one, well, servant leadership is one that tends to show up a lot.
Yeah. That's true.
Transformational leadership is another one, um, and so this is where the third one's not leaving my mind.
No worries.
Um, but transformational and servant leadership would be definitely two that I see most common, especially when it comes to sort of the nonprofit and how do you
Yes.
really change a person. Um, oh, why is that third one not hitting me? It might come to me before the end. Um,
Absolutely. And if not, we can put it in the show notes.
but no guarantee there either. This is the challenge of having a 55-year-old brain. I can get to the answer, but I just have to go back into myself. But it's that area where a lot of it does come into a certain locked-in system thinking,
Right.
or depends on the leader to be maybe charismatic,
Yes.
or it's seen as weak and wimpy if you're a servant, because servant can get lost into serving and you're not
Yes.
leading anymore. So we see some of those things that get in the way. I think, yeah, there is a name for the other framework, but it or approach. Um, because I've got characteristics fitting in as well, where again that charismatic people often see people that are extroverts, obviously are good leaders, and men. I mean, white men are the ideal
Yes.
leader, right? And it's like, well, no. In fact, evidence shows women leaders are stronger and diverse
I like that
approach.
research.
Yeah, right.
Well,
And
and
diversity of
yes.
culture is what actually allows you to frame. So it's not skin color that makes the differentiator, but it's
No.
the diverse approach of they're coming from a different background, different life experiences
Yes.
that they're bringing to create new solutions to a shifting environment.
Yes.
And that's why it is often reflected by culture, by skin color, but it's that part of bringing the diversity to your team
Yeah,
because the value is what they bring from their who, those
yes,
experiences in that space. Yeah.
for sure. No, I love that. If you, so because entrepreneurs are leaders, whether they're a leader of themselves, leader
Mhm.
of a team, whatever it is. So what would you say are kind of a few things that, like a few takeaways that if someone's listening, a few things they
Mhm.
could maybe start to apply in their own business,
Mhm.
maybe review their own business, and yeah, like what would you say? I'd say like it doesn't have to be three. It could be two. It could be four. The world is your oyster, James. But um, what would you, yeah, what
Yeah.
would you say?
So for an entrepreneur getting going, I would there's a few things. So dealing with uncertainty.
Yes,
Um, Consider the questions of what's within my control, what's within my influence, and what's outside of my control. Focus primarily on the top one and on the second one, but sadly, oftentimes it's the third one, what's outside of my control, that captivates our thoughts. So
yes,
take that time to breathe, recenter yourself, ground yourself,
yeah,
take some time for mindfulness. Because the
yeah,
thing that I can't control, if I fixate on that, the stress level goes up. So I got to slow it down. The other is be okay with mistakes. You are gonna fall.
yes,
If you don't, you're not doing anything new.
yeah,
And it's hard when you don't necessarily think you've got the big enough runway to make it land. It is going to get tight, and if you don't have resources to sort of stretch out a runway for takeoff,
yeah,
you might run out of runway. I mean, that's the reality. I hear people
for
that start,
sure,
they think I'm going to be successful in 3 weeks. It's like, well, give yourself 3 years and let's have a conversation
for
if you're
sure.
still here after 3 weeks, because I guarantee if you only have a runway of 3 weeks, you won't be here 3 years from now. So is that part of have an appropriate expectation of what that looks like? Because you might have a
Yes,
side gig to pay the bills while you're developing and launching your idea
yeah,
of what comes together. Um, Taking time regularly, I would say 4 hours a week to focus on strategy. So reflect and consider, what was I planning to do? What, in my strategy, what did I do? What were the outcomes? And so having again those motivated, oriented goals, what I will have when I accomplish X. Um, but then reflecting back of, is it getting me in the right trajectory? So it's an emergent approach of leadership, and you're leading yourself in the space, unless you happen to build a team and you're working with some peers and developing, co-founding it. But it's that part of, as you are going, you've got your sort of guideposts, which are your strategic decision marks. You're
yes,
reflecting back and discerning, are we on the right trajectory? Are we heading the right way? Is there maybe something new that's emerging that we should be exploring? Because all of a sudden, that emerging thing that we could explore turns into something that's tangible and
yes.
monetizable.
Okay.
We might want to put some more energy in that because that actually still aligns with our longer trajectory,
Yeah,
but let's get curious. And so staying in that space again of curiosity, trial and error, exploring. And when you find that it lands, test it a little bit more, systematize it a bit, and then exploit it in a good
yes,
way. Don't exploit people. Keep your
yes.
ethics there. But but
100%. Yes,
but
guys,
but
underline,
exploiting those
don't
ideas
exploit
that land.
people.
No, we do not exploit people. So just ideas, just ideas. And so find those things in the explorative. And if you
Yes,
are working with a bigger team, then you're getting curious and getting feedback loops,
yes,
and be okay with that feedback, because that's where you're going to learn what's working, what's not, what's landing,
yeah,
what's not, what's effective, what's not. Maybe it needs a tweak,
absolutely.
maybe it needs to cancel, whatever, but stay curious along the way.
Yeah,
And if it's not working and it feels like failure, what did you learn from it? Don't let any failure go away. Grasp it, look at it, and going, huh, what can I pull from that that'll be helpful for my future?
for
Because
sure.
eventually that will be part of your unconscious narrative,
Yep,
which will say either I'm a loser, I keep failing, or wow, I keep learning. And I know
100%.
the
You win
3,000
or
other
you
things I'm
learn.
not going to do, but I know the one thing I will do,
Yeah.
and away we go as we go forward.
I think
Yeah.
it was no, by the way, we're calling this the Ted Lasso episode. Like we're just gonna just keep flashing. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
Believe. I have. I love it. Yes.
Oh
I
good.
love it.
Yeah, it is just it's everything. Um
Whistle. All right.
yeah.
How to be done. How to be done.
Um, it's yeah, but I definitely I need to go and see like the actual like the
Hmm.
I think it's not Richmond, but it's near. I don't think it's actually called Richmond, where the actual set was, where the actual like
Okay.
filming was. But I need to be there. They have a store where they sell things, and I'm going to come back
Okay.
with way more than just this mug. It's gonna be very exciting. Um, but just in what you were saying, like I think a big piece is that, yeah, like you succeed or you learn. Like
You
failure
got it.
needs to be reframed.
It does.
And failure is an event, it's not a person,
Hmm.
right? So, like, if you fail at something, you've learned how to not do it next time, but you
Hmm.
yourself are not a failure.
Yes. Yes. And that's why that again, starting with your who is so
Yeah,
important for entrepreneurs and for leaders. One of the things that I love to deliver is the reflective best self exercise done through the University of Michigan, is where I got certified through and live in there. And it basically allows people, and it's very inexpensive, which is the part that I also like. It's very tangible for people to do it if their company's not paying for it, right? Because it's just a couple of coaching sessions. The rest is what they do. Everyone does their own work in that space, but
nice,
you get to hear mirrored back from people that you've intersected with over your lifespan, the areas and the parts of you where you showed up as your best self. And the
nice.
themes that emerge from that are the things that are actually operating in our subconscious, in our unconscious. And we think, well, anybody would do that. Anybody does that. Like, that's just obvious. It's like, but then when you take time through the coaching part and really dig into it, and then
Yeah,
realize the decisions you get to make through it, because now you've made the unconscious conscious,
yeah,
it's like, wow, that actually shapes completely differently what I'm bringing going forward. And that's really one of
yeah.
the biggest influences in me to what I'm doing today. And why I'm
Yes,
doing what I'm doing today is because I took the time to go deep
yep,
in examining my who, and now I show how to show up. I know how to show up or how I show up. I don't have to perform in that space.
yep,
I get to bring that strength in that space. And others have similar strength. Like, it's not like I'm unique that way. Um, but it's that part of I know how I get to show up. And if it doesn't
yes.
fit me, then I get to call it I'm not a fit. And that's okay.
So
There's
I
other
think,
people that will be. Yeah.
yeah, no, this is perfect. So I think, like, when we look at the people listening, um,
Mhm.
and I think
You
what
can
you
see them.
said, I can't see them. They're not
Oh,
live.
okay. Well, you said you look at the
Live.
people that are
But
listening.
you
I
know
got you.
what? I hope that they're all just gonna like give likes and follows, guys. Likes and
Yeah,
follows.
make some comments when you heard this. Comment, because
Yes,
that's what Crystal's
please.
really looking for. So
I really am, guys.
comment
Um,
now.
but the thing is, like, when we look at what you just said, where we
Mhm,
think, oh, everyone does blah blah blah. So I'll tell you, like, with for me, I
mhm,
love hosting little events to support my community. Okay, so I
mhm.
have these networking, not working events.
Yeah.
And very much like growing up, I was always having to help like throw a baby shower or this or that. And
Mhm,
so for me, it is easy to throw these things. Like I
mhm,
know exactly what to do. I put it together. It's really like I don't, not to like not to reverse pat myself on the back, but I do it. I invite people. I get them to all talk to each other. They get prizes at the end, and then people love it. So
yeah.
it's fantastic. It helps people. We have like a charity component. It's great. But I
Love
remember
it.
being like, someone was like, "Oh, this is amazing that you do this." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, it's like it's not anyone could do it." But what I realized is that we're in this culture where, like, if you say, "Well, thank you, I am amazing," then everyone's like, "Oh, you're pretty full of yourself." But so we've learned to almost like, if it doesn't take us like this crazy amount
Mhm,
of effort and it flows with who we are, we think it's not a big deal.
mhm.
But the thing is, if we're doing the things that
Yeah.
are passionate and flows without feeling hard, then it might
Mhm.
be that that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Right. So that's what I got from what you said. So,
Yeah.
guys, like, if you're listening, what are the things that you like? Maybe this is probably a deeper session with James, is what you need, but
It is. That's the thing, because
right.
it's hard to get to that because you
Yeah.
don't see it, because
Yeah.
it is in your subconscious.
Yeah.
And that's the part where, if I think if organizations took the effort to help everyone in their organization explore what they actually bring as their who to that
Yeah.
space, and then see how that connects to the organization's goal or to their work that they provide each day, there's
Yes.
a whole different motivation that shows up, because, like, I mean, you appreciate that. I, I that's just what I do. It's like, but that's what helps shape our culture, or that's
Yeah.
what helps keep people motivated, or that's what helps us find the solutions. So it's, if we actually had people own that and then see it and it gets celebrated and connected to mission and vision, what you would have there is the Eras Tour. And if anyone thinks the Eras Tour was not
Ooh,
successful, it's
guys,
like, look at the
do
ultimate leader,
reference.
right? Look at the
Yeah.
ultimate leader that I've seen so far in modern context. And
Yeah.
people say, yeah, well, she just did. She's just an actress. No, no, she is a leader superstar that
So,
is
yeah.
super strategic, and she cast a vision and got to experience over the Eras tour her vision lived out, which was hearing
Yes.
people sing back to
Yeah.
her lyrics. And
Yeah.
so in that space, everybody was celebrated for their who. Like,
Yes.
if you listen to the documentary on it, the docuseries, yeah, okay, I'm a Swiftie. All right, I deal with that. I got three daughters. But it's that part where she helped everyone. Like, there wasn't a single person that didn't say how their who showed up,
Yeah.
from the person rigging the lights to the people that were dancing to the fellow that didn't fit body image dancing to the other guy that's like, I'm more of a feminine expression dancer. Like, this is who I be, you dance with a woman team. Like, it's
And
just,
you know,
she nailed it.
I love that you're bringing that up because if you think like, so we didn't actually get to go to a live concert. Wanted to, but it was just, we couldn't justify the
Mm-hmm.
cost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now at the same time, what Taylor did, which was really cool, she had the ability, you had the ability to watch it at home. So
Yes.
we turned our living room into a party zone. We bought like glow sticks and we had like a one of those
That's
mirror
awesome.
balls. And my daughter and I did the dancing, but then Brett and our son also we got them dancing and we're not dancing as much as we wanted them to, but they wore the glow sticks, and I think that's important, right? And so the thing is though, like,
Absolutely.
so she was able to create experiences live, to
Mm-hmm.
create experiences in living rooms. There was like
Yes.
there were the movie theater versions,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
became not a concert,
You
but an
got it.
experience
You
that you
got it.
shared with people you
You
love.
got it. So if we could turn our clients into
Yes.
fans and provide an experience for them as
Yes.
well as an experience for our teams, can you imagine what our workplaces would look like?
Oh,
Who wouldn't
glow
want to show
sticks,
up for
guys.
work? Who wouldn't want to show up for work? And that's my deeper core narrative and mission.
Yes.
It's not getting emotional all of a sudden. It's the part where I've worked with the vulnerable youth
Yeah.
for years. For 32 years, I worked in vulnerable sector, whether it be with working with addicts, working with youth from poverty, working with youth coming from abusive situations, um, working with youth that were abandoned because they transgendered and they were just thrown out of their home for all sorts of different reasons. I've worked with youth and I've seen the brokenness in that space. I've worked with families that are broken that wish they had more but don't, and currently working with an organization providing some executive support that works with homeless, and being experienced incredibly right now in the city. And even this morning, driving to work, the police were where a body had frozen and died through the night last night. And so
Oh my
you
God.
look at these spaces, it doesn't change just with dealing and addressing homelessness. It changes when we create great workplaces where
Yes.
people show up and are strong and come home as great parents to their kids. And
Yeah.
those kids go to school and they
Yes.
are great kids at school. And the education, the learning is exceptional because everyone's welcomed and loved because the parents came home and taught those ethical values and loved on their kids. And they knew that they were loved unconditionally. The parents didn't come home stressed. They came home excited for what they got to do and got to do the next day at work. And so their kids got to experience that. And that builds community as
Yes.
opposed to pocket the wealthy. And so for me, if people can still be wealthy, and they will get rich if they
Yeah.
create places where people feel their who is valued and they can bring that to make and serve a purpose. And
Yes.
that's where we can see community shift. So that's my motivation is
Oh,
I've worked with the other
damn.
parts of community. I want to get to the leaders to help them get and heal their wounded spots,
Yes.
their areas, explore what's possible, and allow their teams to grow up in those spaces where we
Yes.
can have vibrant workplaces, vibrant communities, vibrant cities, and a vibrant nation. And I do believe that's possible.
And change
And
the
until I
world.
die, that's what I'm going to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
um, thank you. That's I
Yeah.
like all you know what? I mean, if anyone listening, like this is the kind of passion that people need to have. My heart breaks that I was actually at the State of the City this morning.
Mhm.
For anyone listening later, this is being recorded on January 28th.
Yeah.
But the State of the City and Mayor Josh Morgan was talking
Mhm.
about like there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of supportive housing. The police are being sent away around with medical workers and mental health workers.
Mhm.
Nobody should ever have to be outside
Yeah.
in cold Canadian winter, ever.
Yeah. There's 2,700 right now in the city of London that are in
But
encampments. And so
what I
and we got to hear some encouraging things. And obviously today's meeting was about the encouragement
yeah,
of what is happening. What's missed in that story is, and multiply that by at least a 20 percentile, like times 20, is the only way we're going to get ahead
yes,
is shifting it holistically in every element to get a
yeah,
person from unhoused vulnerable encampments
yes,
into house. There's at minimum for anybody around 6 phases and stages to move into that spot of stability. And not one of those spaces or stages can be left behind, but we can do it differently and we can do it more together. And I think
yeah.
those are some of the questions that I think as communities we can get better together to work
Um,
through them.
we can. I think though, you've just said something that I've actually never heard. Seems obvious, but I've never heard it said, and I think kudos to you. Um, there's a way to help
Yeah.
by the ripple effect of
Yes.
creating supportive spaces, sending that support into the community and have it ripple out into the families, into the way we treat each other, the way we raise our children, the way
Yeah.
we address each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can, because I mean, once it's done, once people are out there, people are trying to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But could we get to the
Yeah.
root of the cause? And that's so
Exactly.
beautiful, James.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
And
interesting
you're obviously called to do that.
in my journey. So at one point, I was working at an addictions, residential addictions. And in that space, I would hear these testimonies of when they went to drugs. And it was oftentimes in their teen years and young adult space where they sort of life happened, crisis happened,
Yeah.
and got into that space. Working with a youth organization, I actually got to experience those moments. I was there when that was happening.
Okay.
Father was shot by another gang member, and all of a sudden the gangs wrap around this kid. We're now your family. We're going to take care of you. Bring him to the gold seats of the final playoffs of basketball. It's like, oh, we just lost that kid. We that's the story I heard when I was at the addiction place. Like I literally had the so I'm in the middle of this funeral with all these gang members around, loving on this family, and I'm going, this is the story. I'm here, and how do I get further before the bridge? So my idea is the one in the addictions was pulling the bodies out of the water that were floating down. The second spot I was on the bridge where the bodies got thrown into the water.
Yeah.
How do we get before they even get onto that bridge and get
Yeah.
them safely across to the other side?
Yeah.
And that's where I feel in this space is where maybe I can influence that zone. We're
Yes.
helping leaders and parents and homes and workplaces to how do I show up authentically as me for at work and at home to be
Yeah.
the best version of me in all areas of my life.
And show other people how to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that is a calling. Oh my goodness. Um, I'm very rarely at a loss for words, but what you just said, like I just got tingles. It is a different approach, and I think multifaceted approaches are needed to solve this issue
Mhm.
because it is like we are all people and
Yes.
no one should experience that, but they are. and
Yeah.
going to the root of the problem and really holistically helping
Mhm.
shape the environments. Like that's amazing.
Yes.
So guys, I mean, I told you it was going to go fast, James. We are we are at the end. But if you guys want to reach out to James, James, what's the best way for someone to connect with you to talk about Opportune?
Yeah. I mean, they connect with me on LinkedIn if they want.
Okay.
James Coolidge. It's me. Um, the other is they can email me, james.coolidge at opportum.com. And
For anyone who
that's
doesn't speak Latin, how do we spell Opportune?
so ObPortum, and I don't speak a lot neither, is O-B as in Bob,
Yep,
Portum as in mother. So
perfect.
obportum.com.
I love it. I was calling it ObPortum until I
Yeah.
talked to you
And
today.
opportune is the root
Opportune.
from opportunity. And opportunity is when preparation meets the new environment, the situation, right? That's what sort of our opportunity comes.
Yes,
And so opportune is not that just randomly happens, but how do I prepare myself
yes,
as Taylor Swift, years of planning and preparation,
yes,
that preparation and then execution. So that's almost unconscious because I've climbed up that ladder of competency. That's a whole
yes.
other podcast. But in that space of where
Two.
now I'm ready to
Yes,
unconsciously operate as my best authentic self, leveraging my experiences, skills, knowledge, and showing up contextually in the place that I'm needed. Situational leadership. Thank you. It came is the other one of how do I lead within the situation. Um, so if you did listen to the end, you've got your three. But is that part of how do I show up now in the space? But the situational leadership isn't also just locked into certain ways of approach or skill sets. There
yes.
is different frameworks that we can approach that, but that's a whole other story.
Well, I will say we are definitely going to have you on for part two to talk about all of that. So, James, thank you so, so much for joining
Thank
us.
you, Krystal.
This was fantastic. Yes. And guys, okay, so this is Crystal Lee Moore Lucier, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Crystal Lee Moore. Thank you so much for listening to Realtor Life with James Coolidge today, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Take care, everyone.